Thank you so much for joining us. Um, this is actually the first of many mindset sessions that me and my lovely co-host Kim over here will be bringing to you guys. So, in planning this particular mindset, um, Kim and I were discussing our entrepreneurial journeys, right? And what that looked like for us. Little did we know, they're actually very similar, just from when we started to kind of where we are now. So, just to give you a little introduction of myself, my name is Michelle Anantala of Harmony's Divine Design, where I am the co founder with the awesome T Weaver. There we focus on new and seasoned entrepreneurs achieving their goals. So we do this by providing one-on-one coaching as well as business coaching, online classes to teach you AI software, and also products that help you streamline your workflow. So that is what we do. And I want to go ahead and toss it over to Kim so she can introduce herself.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Kimberly James, and I'm the owner and creative director of Josie May Full Service Event Planning and Josie May Design, where we make custom apparel, event decor. We've got books, and we do craft workshops. And in short, my clients pay me to bring their vision to life.
Love it. Love it. So, with those in the audience, I posed the question to you. What made you decide to start your own business? What was your aha moment? Anybody like to hop on a mic, or Kim, if you'd like to go? Hey, Dave.
I jumped into the entrepreneur arena for the umpteenth time because I wasn't feeling satisfied in the corporate world, number one. Number two, I had a calling. I kept on gravitating back to the certain things that aligned with my passions, aligned with wanting me to help other businesses with their business, with the talents and the skills that one I got from the corporate world and stuff that was just innately in me in the first place. I always loved working with small business people and above, with their business processes, whether it be computer systems, things of that nature, and it made sense to me. So when AI came available and I started seeing some movement, at least for me, it was a no-brainer, and that's why I'm here.
Gotcha. Thank you. Kim, what made you decide to throw your hat in the entrepreneur ring?
So I decided back when I was 35, when I started working for the current company I'm working for now, that the next job I work will be my own. Because I've always worked directly, because I'm in finance and accounting. So I've always worked directly with the owners. And I've worked really hard to help them build their businesses. And I'm like, if I could work this hard for somebody else, what could I do for myself? So at the time at 35, I knew I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I didn't officially start my business until 2018. So this is almost 20 years later. Well, no, 15 years later. It was about 15 years later when I finally decided to start my business. But I started it as an event planner. And then that was going great for 2 years. And then March 2020 came along and my business completely changed. The great thing is I was able to pivot. I fell back on what I love to do. I'm a crafter through and through. So whatever craft you can name, I've probably done it at least once. If I don't like it, I'm not doing it again. But I like to try different things. So that was kind of the start for me, working for someone else. And it's really hard to work for people that you're smarter than. That is a struggle. And that's what, that was kind of the push for me. Just wanting, if I can do it for somebody else, what can I do for myself?
Gotcha. For me, it was pretty much the same. I was at a job that I was doing really well at. And management had changed. So of course that means that your environment and your atmosphere, all of that had changed as well. And it had got to a point where I just felt that there was something more inside of me. Like there was just it kind of felt like I was wasting my time almost. And I hate to say it like that, but that's how it felt.
That
You know,
pull.
yes, and I can very much understand where you're coming from of being, working in an environment where you are, the smart one in the room, right? Because I was the trainer. So I literally taught everybody how to do their job.
Mhm.
And it was in a sense where it was challenging at first, but then it became a bit redundant. And then, of course, at the time, I had little ones. So it was like, I want to be mom. Like, I want to be able to still provide for my family, but our kids are only kids once. And I don't want to miss it type of thing. I was blessed to have a stay-at-home mom growing up. So I know what that looks like and how important and how much I'm appreciative of it. So in 2018, my husband and I, we started a real estate business. We were investing in real estate, and we were doing pretty well. Things were moving forward. And then, of course, 2020 hit and everything shut down. So when nothing was moving, you had to figure out how to pivot. And it was one of those things. What did that pivot look like? I had no idea, no clue. Um, Coming from the previous jobs and things that I had been through, it was like, I know I just don't want to do the corporate thing again. Like it really took a lot from my spirit to perform these tasks and be around these people all day long. And with time, uh, God revealed it to me. My mom was actually the one that started following Misha, and she was telling me like, "Hey, you should listen, and you should." I'm like, "Yeah, one of those things." Like, "Okay, mom, I'll get to it." Um, and then it was a mind that said that she held that really just kind of knocked on me and challenged me, like, "What are you doing with yourself?" So I knew what I wanted, but I also had to realize I had to be accountable for myself in taking the actions needed for me to get there. So that was a challenge in this entrepreneurial space because, when we're at our 9 to 5, we do have that security of, I know what my duties are, I know what my tasks are. If we've been there for a long time, we can pretty much do it in our sleep, and no questions asked as long as I meet my deadlines and I show up on time. People gonna leave me alone. Now, when you pivot that into an entrepreneurial space, you don't have a manager to report to. You're the manager, your customer service, you're now all these titles that you didn't hold before.
Mhm.
And when you take that on, it's a lot and it's a challenge. So, in this entrepreneurial space, I would pose the question to you guys. How do you give yourself grace in this space? Anybody want to try that one?
Lena in the chat, she said that what led her here is being utterly and completely tired of corporate office politics, toxic work environments, and wanting multiple streams of income.
I get
And she
that.
also said, "I don't want to be the smartest in the room." Yeah, that sounds
I get
good.
that too. I get that too. I want to be in a space where I can continue to learn and grow
Hmm.
at,
Yeah.
at all times. It's good to have those challenges.
Hmm.
But I still pose that question, Kim. Would you want to give a crack at it?
What was the question again?
How do you
Kim,
give
sometimes.
yourself grace in this entrepreneurial space?
You know what? I'm learning how to do that now. It's taken a while because you want to do everything perfect and you want to make sure that everything is right. And sometimes you just have to do it. And this is one thing I learned from Misha, do it and then you can always revise it later. She goes, they didn't come out with the iPhone 1 and stop. No, they came out with a 2. Now they're at, 15, and they will be coming out with a 16 soon. So, do it to the best of your ability, but then you have to move on, because if not, you stay stagnant. And for me, a big thing is, kind of stepping outside of my comfort zone, joining AI Fusion. When Linda, put out the message, and I'm like, I looked at it and I'm like, and then I went back to the post and I'm like, okay, you know what, let me just go ahead and respond. So it's me stepping out and allowing myself to make mistakes, and it's okay. Um, Not taking on too much, just kind of allowing myself um, to have flaws and be okay with it. And that's big for me, because I want everything to be right, everything to be perfect. So that's how I'm giving myself grace. Just saying, you know what? And I know I can't do everything anymore. It's hard working, because I still work full time, working a full time job, and running a business and managing my house. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm learning that I don't have to be Superwoman. So I ask for help now. Whereas, the first couple of years of my business, I got it. Nope, don't touch it. Nope, I got it. Now, yes, I need your help. Yes, can you do this? So it's allowing the people that are in my corner to assist me. And that's big, because, Josie May is my, and it's hard to let somebody in. But in order for me to scale and grow, I have to have help. I can't do it by myself. There's no way. I can't work in the business and on the business. There's not enough hours in the day. So
You
that's how
know,
I'm giving myself grace.
I definitely feel that. I do. Especially when you mention asking for help. Um, I will say I myself very much strong mindset, I got it, I'm good. Don't worry about it. I'll take it on, and very much like you, I've had to learn how to when and when not to wear my superwoman cape.
Mhm.
And finding that balance, it's hard. It's hard because, you're working on something you're passionate about, and you're working on something that is going to grow and you can see it. So of course you want to be hands-on and do everything and be in it. But like you said, you can't work in your business and on your business at the same time.
Mhm.
So asking for help is very vital, you know. And I'm even learning that myself because I'm still balancing, But one way that I personally give myself grace is by literally just shutting down for the day. Like, if I need to, I will not touch a chat. I will not look at a Facebook page, and just leave me alone. And before, I used to feel guilty of doing that, of taking that time, because I had to do so much. I'm a mom, I'm wife, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. But now it's like, no, just leave me alone.
Mhm.
I don't want you to call my name, you know. And by me being able to admit to myself that, yes, I do need that time, I do need that space to just recharge and reboot myself, instead of fulfilling, the mom guilt, I now feel the mom success because I'm making sure I'm in the proper mindset to be able to handle my responsibilities and my family now, because I'm giving myself that space in that grace, whether it be on a professional setting or whether it be in my personal life. It's like if I gotta put a flag on a play, listen, I'm tossing it up. That's it. Time out.
and and that's really important. I learned that when my son was probably 1. My mother looked at me and she said, "You don't look like yourself." And I'm like, it's hard because I want to make sure he's good. No, no, no. You see these young mothers and they have these kids, and they look great, but the kids look terrible. And she was just like, "But you look terrible." She was like, "You don't look like my." And it took for her to say that to me to realize that, yeah, I was pouring more into everybody else instead of myself. So I started taking sabbaticals when my son was about a year and a half. It would be only a weekend. My grandmother didn't want to fly, so we would drive her to Connecticut. And just that break, even though I was on the road, just that break away from my family allowed me to relax. It allowed me just time so that I wasn't dependent on anybody. No one was depending on me. And when I came back, and my husband goes, those sabbaticals are working. And so whenever I would, be really stressed, and he's just like, is it time for a sabbatical? So, I did it here. I would take the weekend just for myself. And that allowed me to up so that I can continue to pour into everybody else, which is hard because women, Black women especially, we are so much to so many people and we're constantly pouring and we never get our cup refilled. So it's really important to kind of take that time if you can. I know that everybody doesn't have that luxury, but even if it's just an afternoon, a walk around the block, just some time for yourself, a bath, just whatever you can do to recharge your own battery. I'm a proponent of it. I mean, it worked for me. It really worked for me.
Yeah, I love that, taking a sabbatical, because Lord knows I will pack my bags real quick. Love y'all. Gotta go.
It
But
worked
you
for
know
me.
what? It's so important because I think the first time I took a sabbatical, so to speak, was actually for a coworker's wedding. I had flew down to DR, and this was my very first time just being by myself. Like
Mhm.
every time I traveled, it was with family. So I had either, my kids with me or other family members or so forth. It was always with someone.
Mhm.
And I remember I had got checked into the hotel and I had walked down to like this outdoor like lobby area basically. I sat down, I took a breath, and I part of me automatically went into waiting mode because I'm always waiting for someone to finish up doing what they're doing to come on down. And then I just heard like the little voice in my head, like, girl, what are you doing? Get up. You ain't gotta wait for nobody. You are by yourself. So I said, oh, okay. So I went to my room, I had freshened up and everything. And I had went down to the bar and I was just sitting there and I was just like, wow, nobody has called my name in like in 15 minutes. And it felt so good. It was one of those things like, of course, I love my family dearly, but we do need those moments of being able to just step away
Yeah.
and recalibrate, and for order for us to effectively show. That's what we have to do. So if anyone
Monster truck.
you gotta love it, right? You gotta love it. I have NASCAR right on outside my door. This is the beauty of living in a city. But does anybody in the audience have any questions or would they like to add anything to the conversation? I'm gonna hop off the mic because y'all hear I got a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Nobody?
I'll mess with y'all. I'm gonna start acting like a teacher and start calling y'all out. But no. So I will ask this question in regards to you guys. So since starting your entrepreneurial journey, what has been your own personal biggest win? Dean?
My my biggest personal win is, believe it or not, being a little bit more visible. Um, this is not my first time in this type of space, but I wouldn't do a lot of lives. As a matter of fact, prior to joining this group, my lives were non-existent. So, but I would be more of a faceless person, put out something positive, put out something art related or whatever related. Um, industry that I was involved in, just a random thought, but being here now, responsible for my own digital marketing agency, I'm more accountable, but at the same time, I'm more comfortable as to who I am, what I am all about, and I have a support group. That's the biggest thing for me. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't have progressed this far. And this, where I am presently, is a far cry from what I would have normally have done. I would have done a lot of struggling, stressing out. As a matter of fact, the stuff that we've done so far, I couldn't have done it on my own. There's no way, no how. I'd have been knee deep in YouTube videos, whole bunch of different websites, just taking on a lot of knowledge and being a lot more confused, a lot more stressed out, trying to figure out deadlines or how to even get a deadline because, get things started. So the biggest win is essentially stepping out with support. That's it for me.
That's awesome.
I like that, Dean, stepping out with support. And this group right here, whew, we get a lot of support in this group.
We do. We do. Would anyone else like to share?
So Michelle.
So for me, my biggest win has been finding my voice somehow in this group, in this setting. I'm very quiet and to myself, very reserved. So to be in a space like this where I'm talking in front of people, showing my face on camera, networking, quote, quote, right, is a big deal for me because I wasn't doing that before. And aside from that is also just the creation of AI Fusion is the thing in my business that I needed, and I had no idea I needed it. So I'm very grateful and just thankful. I can never really explain how thankful I am for that. So those have been my biggest wins since starting this journey last year.
That's awesome, Lena. Thank you. Kim, you were about to say something?
Oh no, I was going to pose the question to you.
Oh. My biggest win. My biggest win, I would say, is being reintroduced to me again. That's my biggest one. I had lost myself for a while, you know, being the titles to everyone else, except for the one to myself. And it's been a lot of, teary eyes and frustrated nights and, praying for understanding. And my biggest win is coming back to me again. I remember something that my father said before he passed. He goes, Michelle, I want to tell you something. He says, I don't care how much you know someone, but you will never fully know someone. And then it was layered to me, as everything always is, because my father used to speak in riddles and rhymes. That's just how he was. So when he just said one thing, it always had about 5 different meanings.
I love it. I love it.
And when I put it in perspective of myself, I had forgotten who I was. I had forgotten who Michelle plus all the extra names that I had really is. And doing this business and really focusing in and saying, you know what, this is it. I'm shifting my, like, I don't care about what anybody else has to say, what anything else has to say. I know I need to do this for my spirit. So harmony in the name itself, it transcends in multiple ways for me. Um, Representation of my own self identity. I can only speak from my part. I won't speak for my mother, but um, my biggest win is my growth and finding me again.
That's good. That's good. It's real
Thank you.
good. Because we often get lost um, in the different titles. And as women, we often lose ourselves. I am definitely not the same person I was in my 20s, 30s, 40s, and now I'm midway through the 50s. I am not the same chick. I'm not the same chick.
But
For me,
that's a great thing, though.
it is it because I've progressed. I'm definitely better. I said, God is awesome. Um, if I had the body in my 20s and the experience I have in my 50s, he don't give you everything at one time.
You
Something else.
definitely have to pick and choose. Like he know better.
He knows better. But for me, the biggest win is allowing him to steer my path.
Absolutely.
I am an A personality. I want to know what's going to happen 10 steps ahead. This year, I decided to just go with the flow and say, okay, direct my path. And it's opened doors. It's changed the way I do things. It's changed my perspective on a lot of different things. I'm still like trying to see what's ahead. I don't know, but I'm just trusting. And that for me that's the biggest win.
How many of us in here, just put a one in the chat, are type A? You know, have to have things a certain way. Just because I know Kim isn't the only one, because I'm gonna raise my hand. When it comes to certain things, you need it done a certain way in order to operate, in order to think, and being a type A, it's not a bad thing, but a little, just like with anything else, too much of it can be a little something, something. So, um, it's okay. It's okay. And Kim, that's really big for you, like you said, to learn to go with the flow.
Yeah.
I know it's hard, you know, especially if you're someone, because I come from a long line of control freaks. Like, it just is what it is. And when you are raised around a lot of those personalities at times, it's overwhelming. Um, so I kind of had to learn on the fly the go with the flow type of motto of life. Because I realized really young that I can't control everything. And sometimes I don't need to know everything. And I'm okay with it. Because another thing I've learned, if it's meant for me to know, God has a way of bringing it right to the front of me. I can't deny it. So I'm like, oh, okay, message received. Um, but yeah, it's great that you're learning that. I think
It's
that
a struggle.
it'll definitely keep evolving.
Yeah. I know for me, my son always tells me, and your kids have a way of grounding you because I believe that they have a different perspective of who you are
Mhm.
and they can see things in you that you can't see in yourself. So I know my son will always grab me because I plan all the events that we do. And like family reunions, it was one. And people weren't doing what I needed them to do when I needed them to do it. And he could tell that I was getting anxiety. And he just grabbed me. He's like, Mom, live in the moment. He's just like, stop, just enjoy the moment. He was just like, it doesn't matter that we're not going to be here at this exact time. Stop. So stop living your life on an agenda because I do. Everything is a list. Everything's an agenda. And if it's not on the list, it's not, nope, we're not doing that. So for him to see it in me made me realize, okay, maybe I'm really not living in the moment, and I had to kind of take a pause. So when stuff isn't going how I planned it, it's going the way it's supposed to go. And that's kind of releasing that control, which is hard for me. But I'm learning how to do that. So
That's awesome. And you know what, kids, they do have a way of pointing stuff out. Um, and like you said, they do see us in a way that we don't see ourselves. Because to us, we're just in our natural operating mindset. So, mommy has to cook, she has to clean, she has to make sure you guys are ready for school, she has to do this and this and this and that. And, we're going through it and we're operating. And so we don't realize that they're getting the automatic version of ourselves.
mhm.
The one that's accustomed to routine, the one that's accustomed to habit, to get things done and squared away. So when our children come, or even, just a loved one or a friend or whoever just comes and is like, excuse me, yeah, you there? You're here, but you're not here. Are you paying attention?
And I think our kids see us as our authentic selves
Yes.
more than anybody, because I can be with my son different than I can be with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
My man is my man. He's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
see everything. If I got a burp, I'm not burping in front of my. There's certain things. But with my son, I'm like,
I'm me. That's it.
I'm me. So
Mm-hmm.
they see us different. That's like, even before my husband comes home, I'm gonna look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
If my son comes over, I don't care. I'm not trying to impress you, but you're my man.
You just see mommy in the kitchen. That's it.
Exactly. I can remember, days when I'd be home and my husband was at work, and I would have on a house dress, hair wasn't done, but let 4 o'clock roll around, I'm going to get cute, taking the hair down. And he noticed that. So, he got to see me stripped down, just mom, just
Mhm.
who I was. So, his version of me is definitely different than my husband's. Now, we've been married 31 years now.
Mhm.
I don't do all that no more. I don't do.
Love
But
it.
now you go, isn't it time to get your hair done? Yeah.
Damn, that sounds so familiar.
Our time was
Like
3 o'clock.
Michelle, like, yeah,
You was.
yeah, because he will work 6:30 to 2:30. I'm like, Michelle, he'd be rolling in here in a minute.
I'll
I'm
be
like,
like, all right.
I be acting like I've been cooking all day long when he come in.
I love it.
So yes, that sounds very familiar when you were saying it, because mom would give me that look. Yeah, so your dad, I'm running upstairs now. Let me go get myself together. Or if she had to get like,
Yep.
we ain't want you coming in the house. Y'all ain't do that all day. What you been doing all day? No. We gonna make it look like we've been busy for a long time.
Exactly.
Even if it was for the last 20 minutes of the day. But though, you know what, as you said, the relationships, they are different, between our children and our spouse, and even even in this setting, right? We have people that are entrepreneur besties that can pretty much know us like the back of our hand. I might have a little visitor behind me. But but either way, we need those relationships, because it does help us grow in our journey and in our path. It helps us be accountable for things. Kim was accountable in regards to her home life, and now we're in AI Fusion, and we hold each other accountable for each other's progress and how we work together, which is so beneficial. So when it I'm sorry, Kim, can you take over? I got a little one.
Sure. Anybody else? Nothing? Okay, so question. What's the biggest lesson you've learned being an entrepreneur? For me, it's hard. This is a lot harder than I ever thought, um, because I care so much about it. It's my business is my baby. So that is the biggest struggle. It's a lot harder than I knew it would be, um, but I wouldn't change it. I definitely wouldn't change it.
So I would ask, as we have, traveled through our journey thus far to this point, I pose the question to everyone, you know, if you could tell the beginning version of you anything up until the point that you're traveling in your journey right now, what would it be?
For me, you can't do everything. You can't. I've spent a lot of late nights trying to do everything, and it's impossible. There is no way you can scale and grow a business being a solopreneur. There's no way. At some point, you need help. And I'm learning how to turn certain things over. Because my mom works with me. She's worked with me since the beginning. We do all of the events together. She knows how to weed. I said my mother is a professional weeder and she's never smoked. Um, but she enjoys weeding for me. And crafters know what weeding is. It's where you separate
Yes, that's with the
the,
cricket.
the vine. um, but I've decided that I'm turning over that part of the business to her because there's no way that I can continue to build and scale and grow other areas of the business and still do physical products. So I've been training her to take over that side of the business, which is big for me. Me letting somebody take over something.
That's good. That is awesome. That's awesome. Like you said, when we deal with our babies and things like this, our businesses are our babies. So
Mhm.
just like with our actual children, we just don't let any old body,
Mhm.
around our kids. It's the
Right.
same for our business. We
Right.
ain't letting just any old body messing around with what we're working on, right? Tessa put a really good note in a comment. She goes, I learned that your family is not your customer. I do
Mhm.
know that if my mom was alive, she would buy everything I make. And I think, Tessa, that is a really, really great lesson. Um, one reason why family will not buy from you is because those are the first people to judge you, right? Like they have known the whole backstory, the in between, all of this up until you got to that point. So, in some family cases, you do have very supportive families that are there and for you, and that's amazing and awesome. And then you do have some families that kind of just give you the side eye a little bit, like you got to produce a little bit more. I've seen both sides of the fence, and
Mhm.
either way, I'm okay with it. I have learned to accept that my family will not be my biggest paying customers. It's okay. But that does not say that what I produce doesn't have value.
Mhm.
It just means that whatever I'm producing at that particular moment, they may not have value for it. And it's okay. You know, just as we are not meant to entertain everybody or be everybody's quote unquote friend, so to speak, the same thing goes with our businesses where how we operate. Sometimes our customer base are people that we least expect.
Mhm.
And especially if you have something like an Etsy store or something like that, you'll see more customers from different parts coming in purchasing your products than you would if you gave your best friend your link. Now, I'm not saying they wouldn't support, but they're limited, or they would be limited. And it's okay. It's okay to acknowledge people where they are and be comfortable with that. Because what that shows is you're comfortable in yourself with your own personal growth. Like, okay, well, this may not be for you, and that's fine. I'll, I would just keep it pushing because I know someone else out here is going to need it. It's no disrespect, it's just business.
And that part is hard too, because the people that you expect to support you sometimes don't support you. And I've learned to accept people for who they are, where they are. I can't want you to want things more than I want it for you. And, and that's in just life in general. I mean, I can promote my business and people not, even family, not, not like it, not, they see it. And you have to be okay with that. And I realized that, my surrounding, and I've grown my business word of mouth for the last 5 years. I haven't had to promote my business, but that's at the hobby level. If I want to scale and grow my business, I need to get out in front of more people. People have to know you, like you, and trust you before they spend a dime with you. And my little circle has kept my business. I mean, it's kept my business afloat. I've been profitable, but my little 300 people, that's not enough in order to take my business to the level that I want it to go. So that's why, you have to be open to putting yourself out there, which is hard because not only am I type A personality, I'm also an introvert. So that's two, I don't know, you could say those are two negatives or two positives, but
Oh, that's what you. So you a quiet control freak.
I'm a quiet control freak. Yes. So it's tough. It's tough. So now I'm learning, the only way that I'm going to get my level that I know it needs to be and where it could be is more people have to know about what I do. And I cannot expect, even though I would say 95% of my clients that I have now are from referrals and they keep coming along. But I mean, yeah, how many people, it's going to take a whole bunch more to get me to where I want to be. Because I'm trying to leave my day job come the 20th anniversary, which is next year. So, I have to do things a little bit different. And I have to be okay with family not understanding and not getting it. Because a lot of times, the one great thing I have to say about our group is we are all entrepreneurs and we're all like minded. Even we may be at different areas and different states of our business, but we all have a common goal, and that's to scale and grow our business. And entrepreneurs understand entrepreneurs. Other people don't get it. As supportive as my husband is, he don't get it. He will support me to a certain extent, but then he wants me to be with him all weekend long. And I'm sitting there like, I need to be doing X, Y, and Z, not binge watching a show. And he doesn't get that, if I said, hey, I need to go do X, Y, and Z, oh, you're on another call. So that's why, when my husband comes home, I stop everything. And then he gets in bed by 8. So then I come down and work again. So I figured out how to work with that schedule.
But you know what? And that's so important because what you're showing is balance, and that I think is so hard as an entrepreneur because, again, we don't go by the 9 to 5 work schedule. That does not exist for us. We are the ones that are saying good morning to the sun before we actually go to sleep. And when, like you said, entrepreneurs understand entrepreneurs, and that's pretty much with any group type, right? So if you were to stick me in a group full of football players, okay, I get the concept, but I don't know what it's like to be tackled on the field. I can't give you that in-depth view of it. I could just skim it for you. So when it comes to our families and, our support systems, they can only support you to a certain extent. They support you to their understanding.
Mhm.
And that goes back to saying you acknowledge people for where they're at, and it's okay. But I will say in this entrepreneurial space, if I was to speak to the very beginning version of me, it would be to speak up more and get out of my comfort zone. Um, very much an introvert, clammed up, just didn't want to talk. I would just look and I'm like, well, Michelle, you can't grow by just watching. You have to put in the work, you have to put in the action plan because I will tell y'all, I'm a professional student. I love to learn. I have been in school all my life. Okay. So learning is something easy to me. But when it came to the applying part, I could apply it, but then another challenge would come up, which was consistency. And the reason that I was having the challenges with consistency was because I wasn't holding myself accountable for sticking to what I needed to do. So, in the beginning stages of becoming an entrepreneur, it was a challenge for me because I'm like, okay, yes, I have all these personal responsibilities, but I also have these ones as well. And I know nobody's going to yell at me if I don't finish the ones that I have for myself. I might feel some type of way, but I know ain't nobody going to fuss at me. So I'm going to go ahead and do what's physical, what's there, what's actionable in that moment. And I had to stop myself from doing that because it's like you have to find that time to commit to what it is you want to do. And if you are creating a business or running a business, you have to commit yourself to it. And like you said, some people just aren't going to understand it. And so they're not going to understand why, you're on a Zoom at 7 o'clock at night when y'all new episode just came on. It's okay. So that's why they have earbuds and you sneak that Zoom in your pocket, put it on your phone and tune in. But you're still getting that balance. Just maybe put one earbud in instead of for two, you know? But you gotta find ways to make it work.
You just said two C words that are like F words: commitment and consistency. Those two are big. Um, I know I struggle with. I'm not. I don't have an issue with commitment because if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. But the consistency part of it, because as much as I try to stay in my own lane, you get on Facebook and you see a new craft, and like I said, I'm a crafter at heart. Then I'm like, ooh. I learned the term rabbit hole recently, and I've been in there a couple of times. But it's that where and because you are the only person in your business working, you can't get stuck in a rabbit hole because something else isn't going to get done. But what I've learned to try to do is if it's something that's going to benefit my business today, then I need to learn today to implement it. If not, I put it in a tab to go back to later, because I don't want to get stuck in those holes because it's hard to get out. And then I will forget what I should have been doing, or there's a project that's sitting that should have been released. So that consistency. I'm still working on the consistently posting. That's a bit of a struggle because there's that, paralyzed perfectionist again. It needs to be right, has to be perfect. So
I will say this: perfect doesn't exist.
mhm.
It doesn't exist. It's a concept. It's literally a figment of our imagination. Only thing that I see perfect right now are the individuals in this room that God has created in His image. Perfectly sculpted. You already have the perfect package. You're already there in your entirety. You know. Um. So, in regards to perfection, I don't look to try to chase it. It's because if I did, I would be like a hamster on a wheel and constantly going and going and going, but not going anywhere. Because if you never action on anything until it's quote unquote perfect, you'll never produce anything. And I'm the type of person I had to learn where I'd much rather receive the feedback and the critique, because what that shows me is someone is actually taking their time and looking at it from their perspective. So I can either adjust, or if I agree, or stay the same. But either way, you know, we need to hear the feedback, even as business, especially as business owners. Because if we don't hear the feedback, how do we know what's actually working? How do we know what is it that our customer base actually needs? And when we receive the feedback, how are we receiving it? You know, sometimes we let our emotions get in the way, and some feedback can feel a little personal. That may not be the intention of it, but that goes to show that might be an area where you personally have to work on within yourself. So I will say, being an entrepreneur, it is not for the faint of heart. You are constantly being challenged about yourself each and every day. You know, you're going to face challenges that a 9 to 5 at times won't provide you to face, because either you're going to report into work or you're not. With your business, it's the same way. Are you going to show up or are you not? It's a reflection. Your business is a reflection of your dedication to your dream. So if you are dedicated into making it work to make it look like the vision that you see in your mind, you will be surprised how, and you make your mind up on that, you'll be surprised how things start falling to the wayside. Things that used to bother you, they're not going to bother you anymore. Things that you used to be like, oh my God, yeah, no, you're going to be like, okay, I got to get this email out. I got to get this campaign out. You have to pivot your focus on what it is that is important to you. So when it comes to consistency, the only tidbit I could say that helped me, because I'm still not 100%, I'll never be 100%, is that I'm human. I'll give you a solid 95, on a good day, but I still got to keep some for me, is literally just carving out. It started with me with a half an hour a day, just carving out, dedicating. My weak point, like most of us, was content creation. So I got T Weaver as a cheat code. I had her teach me how to make a GPT, and I made one to help me. But with that, I take that half an hour. I do it on Sundays, actually. And I'm really big on themes. I pick my theme out. I use the GPT, prepare my content, put my little spin on it, and I schedule it out. And it feels good to get a notification in my email that something went out, and I didn't have to stop my day. I didn't have to stress about it. I set myself up for future success. And that's how I had to start looking at, sorry about the background noise, but that's how I had to start looking at it in regards to content, is I'm setting myself up for the success that's going to come on Wednesday or on Friday, because I have the consistent content circulating. Now I can do the real fancy reels about my product, or I could hop on a live and not, feel pressure to, or that anxiety to do it because I didn't deliver in another area. So with me, I like simplifying, and the half an hour was my starting point, and it just evolved.
That's good. I haven't got there yet. I started last week. I did 7 days of content on the 3 groups. I have 2 groups and 1 page. I consistently posted because I set them up. This week, I had an order to fulfill. So it's like, okay, either I can take the time to get, and I got everything kind of together, but it's creating the content and then posting it.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
that's the problem that I run into. But I've got some interns that I'm gonna talk to.
There
I
you
have
go.
some young nieces. I'm gonna I'm gonna start doing value for them. You would like a new tea? I got you. Just post this content for me.
There
But
you
that's
go.
also, using people that I have in my corner where I wouldn't do that before. But they're always on their phone. So it's, releasing the stuff to them so that I can allow them to also be creative because they'll probably have a completely different spin on my vision anyway.
Yep.
So
That's really interesting that you're saying that because I have a client that I'm signing up tonight who has a fitness business. I've known him for years, and he's got four girls, and the youngest, I think, is 12, and the oldest is 24. And he wants some part of the business to continue the legacy. And he's not up to date on, you know, he does Facebook every once in a while, but the fact that he has the kids that are interested in the business, they're into fitness, they're into sports, they like what he does, he and his wife. And it just came out of the blue. It's like, I need them part of your team to do the cap cut, the TikTok post and stuff like that, because they were on them. Why aren't you posting? But that's one thing I think is the beauty about our space, that we can see things from a different angle that most brick and mortar business can't realize. We have to do the marketing. We have to get involved in the email. We have to get involved in the imagery and things of that nature. And maybe some, well, not maybe, but workflow processes. And we see all that, but we also see the different ways to delegate to make things easier on the business owner as well as for ourselves. So that's a very interesting point that you brought up, Kim.
yeah, I'm just trying to figure out everybody in my camp, what can I give them to do? Because then I can really work on the business and not in the business. So, I have a couple of nieces that are teenagers and they're always on their phone. Whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, they're always on their phone. So, yeah, I'm
And
just
it
trying to
helps them, like you
that's
said.
my
It,
crew.
it helps them with their creativity. Absolutely. I have my teenager, I have him helping me and things like that as well. I call him my junior co-pilot because he wants to learn video editing. So when it comes to, my class replays and things like that, okay, we're going to sit down in Canva and we're going to go over how to work that and do that. Um, and it excites him because he also gets to see exactly what it is that mommy's doing. He also gets to feel involved with the process. So when I sit there and say, hey, baby, this business is for mommy to leave behind for you, he has that sense of fulfillment and pride in it because he's like, oh, yeah, I remember when I used to make videos with mom when she first started. Or, she would tell me I had to do a class and I had to let the people in the room. Like, those are the things that really sticks out. And also you're delegating. And like you said, it provides you that opportunity to work on your business.
Mhm.
But it's always helpful and wonderful to see someone learn as
Yeah.
well. It's a
Absolutely.
win-win with that.
I read an article yesterday, and they were saying that they're adding content creation into the curriculum for a college. I can't remember which college it was, but this is now something that they're going to start adding in. I mean, it's big. I mean, regardless of whoever you are, if you're on a social media platform, you're creating content.
But it's so funny that, they're going to do it at a college level, but there are kids that have been doing it since they could get their hands on a phone. I mean, my daughter, she has Instagram page for her friends, her little friends and whatnot, but I'm one of her friends, and so is her mom. And every once in a while, I get something that comes across my page. I'm like, she did that in CapCut? Oh, hold on, come here. Just and so I, I I think to do content creation at college, my opinion, is you went too far.
Mm-hmm.
You could have started earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand that they're trying to do it from a business means, but some of these kids are not even want to go to college. And they'll be like, look, I don't need college to do what I need, I do. You don't teach that in college.
Mm-hmm.
So they're behind the eight ball. And I have my feelings about college when it's to certain industries. You can't eliminate college. I don't see any way, shape, or form you can do that. But the dream that we were given was a lie. Go to school, get good grades, go to college, or go to a trade school and whatnot. But no one really saw what was coming, that technology was going to change things, add new jobs, take some away because they replaced it with something else. And you had to develop different skills. And, here we are now. I remember when I was in high school, the one thing that I didn't understand, and they only did this like maybe for not even half a semester, when we had to learn how to balance a checkbook.
Mm.
It's like, okay, life skills. You get a job, you put money in the savings, you put money. They didn't teach you about money. They taught you about, okay, when you get money, this is what you do to continue to build our system, not build your dreams. And then you find out people now are going to master classes and trying to get into financial schools to learn how to use money. What's the purpose of bond, a CD, money market fund, IRA? Why you should invest in real estate? How to use credit? All that stuff you know, didn't give that to us, and these kids are learning it now because now they're coming into money, and they have, provided they have good mentors, they are being directed. It's like, let me show you how your money works for you instead of you working so hard for your money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
those are classes I wish I had, the opportunity to take when I was, in grammar school. You know, if I had have learned about the stock market in grammar school, saving in grammar school, because you typically learn from your parents and what they do, and you should progress further than what they have. Because of my background in finance and accounting, my son got a good start on it. I wish I had tapped into a lot of other things that he was good at. Like he's always had an entrepreneurial mindset. I wish I'd have tapped into that more then when he was growing up, you know, because I think he kind of lost it along the way because we wanted him to go to college, and he's just like, he believes that college is one of the biggest scams because he goes, you go, you spend all this money, and based on your degree, if it's not accounting, if it's not law, if it's not medicine, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to find a job in your field. So I really wish I had kind of tapped into his entrepreneurial mindset, back when he was still in high school, doing his little things. He started a couple different jobs, businesses when he was in high school. And I really wish I had have tapped into that then. So now I'm trying to get him to get back, to that point. But, he got a car note, he got a condo, he ain't trying to start all over from scratch, and he can't move back here. So it's in his back pocket.
I will say this. There was a couple of points that stood out to me when you said that. One, you got to give yourself grace because where you were then compared to where you are now is a different mindset based on some realities that you've had to test out, some truths that we had to no, some facts that we had to determine are their truths. Um, and I look back, I have a journal that when my firstborn was 1991, I still have this journal, and I wrote down about 100 things that I wanted to accomplish before I leave this earth. One of them is to have an entrepreneur school for children, and it was so deep. It resonated so deep in my spirit that the fact that I didn't learn this stuff in school because of how the system is set up. Not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist, far from it, but it was just like the school system, it's it's set up in a way to teach you, I need you to feed back into our system to and forget about your dreams. Your dreams are not important more than building the American economy. And that's just one way. But if you look at the statistic, and you could probably back that up, that the entrepreneurs are the ones that are feeding more money back into the American economy than the other industries that, you know, they've set up, that I need you to be in the factories, I need you to be in the retail stores and stuff like that. And then you hear all about, hey, you know what, you're employee of the month, you get a $25 Wawa card. I'm like, what? $25? But you know, that barely pays for anything else. But as far as entrepreneurism, that is not taught in the schools unless, I might be even wrong on this, but I would say charter schools, because they go by a different curriculum, and they try to teach outside of what the regular school system teaches, as far as how to think, how to look at, how to get different perspectives on how you should operate in life. Mm-hmm. And it usually introduces entrepreneurism. What is it that you really want to do with your life? And then they start steering you in that direction. Unless you say, you know what, I want to work in a retail store. I don't know what I want to do. I'll take a part-time job and I'll figure it out at that point. But now that we have this opportunity, we can still leave that legacy. It may not be with our son, but we might be our grandchildren, our nieces and nephews and stuff like that. Or maybe someone that is, you know, that we know, maybe through another family member or in our community, that we can raise up and help them understand why they feel so different, and why they kind of not bucking the system, but don't feel like they fit in the system to be just another cog in the wheel. Mm-hmm. But that was something that every time I started working, let's put it this way, the longest place I've ever, the longest time I've ever worked in corporate America is 8 years. And that was just recently. Prior to that, it was either a 3 to 5 year span. And it wasn't because I just want to get up and quit. It had nothing to do with that. It was completely opposite, that either these positions were being eliminated or it was a life choice. I had to move or something like that. Life happened. But 3 to 5 years, and then being involved in these major corporations, I saw a lot of stuff happen in behind the scenes that was just so aggravating, that made me want to become an entrepreneur. I says, you know what? You're telling me that the skills that let's just say you taught me all these skills to become a better person. And then for me to move up, you're telling me you're only going to give me 25 cents more an hour. But when you do your stockholders meeting and you're talking about the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands of profit that you're making, and that you're getting all these, you know, stipends and all this stuff based on everybody that's working for you, that sickened me. So to be where I am today, I'm glad I'm making the sacrifice, because I believe that I will have a bigger return, and then be able to influence other kids to do things, not even like me, but take that entrepreneurial path and be able to have a little bit more control of their life, and also have a better relationship with money. And that's the key. We weren't taught to have a relationship with money. It was taught that money's the, you know, the end all, the be all. You get that job and you make that money. Get that $100,000 job, but at the cost of your health, your time, your family. I'm sorry. What about my dreams? That's not part of the equation. So.
You are so absolutely right, Dean. That's what they taught you. From school to college and nothing in between.
And then, especially us, that message wasn't meant for us anyway.
Oh no.
So
Because
we
they
had
were
to,
just happy for us being on a lower pole, the lower level of the totem pole. While you know good and well you was in the same class with Jimmy, and you had an A, Jimmy had a D, but he was sitting up at the CEO office with his daddy. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, we have to want to change the trajectory for our, our legacy for our kids. Um, and the only way to do that is through entrepreneurship, because in most corporations, we're in the dugout, or I'll say we're in the parking lot. They already on first base. And it's all about who you know, and not necessarily about how smart you are, because in order for us to be in those rooms, we have to be the best of the best. We can't be the kid who got the D. No, we have to have excelled at everything. um but we can change that by having our own, because then we can employ some of these people, we can train some of these kids coming up. Because all of the stuff that we're learning, in our group, this is some good stuff that we could really teach kids how to do. um I it is in my what do you call it, my business plan. Part of my business plan is to a portion of funds every year to create a school, that I can have for kids over the summertime. Because in Chicago last year, there were 40,000 kids who applied for summer jobs. There were only 20,000 available. 20,000. So that means 20,000 kids wanted to work but could not work. My thought is to create a system so that they can learn how to make t-shirts. Then they can continue to do it over the summertime, or as a summer job, or they can continue to do it. But now you've learned a skill that you can turn around and make money on your own time. Teach them how to design. So that's it. That's what I'd love to do. It's something I'm working on. But I definitely think that with the AI space, they don't even know how to design. They don't need to know how to design, in order to be able to create, income, legitimate income. Because our boys, they wind up doing other things because there isn't another outlet. And they've taken so many, classes and resources out of the school system, that kids used to be able to, hang on, my AC just kicked on and I do not want it on because I'm in the basement and it's already cold down here. Hang on, I'm sorry.
But just to go with Kim, there are times where we, I feel this way. We have come to a point where when there was once no option, we are now that option for
Mm-hmm.
our kids.
Mm-hmm.
By becoming an entrepreneur and serving in your truth and your destiny, whatever your skill or talent is that you've been blessed with, you're already creating so many possibilities for young people to come if you keep on this path and keep true to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one thing again that I've learned is taking action. And being an entrepreneur, does that mean that, that's rectifying all the wrongs that we have in our society? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But what it does mean is I'm providing a chance that I didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And by providing that opportunity, whether it's to my children or other family members or friends or other, children in the neighborhood, etc., I'm letting, I'm pouring love into them by letting them know, hey, listen, your skills, they matter.
Mm-hmm.
Your talents, they matter. If you are one of those young men that can draw an amazing anime character, you matter. If you play music by ear, no formal training. You matter. Because with formal training, who knows what symphonies or ballads you'll be able to create.
Mhm.
You know, so being in this space, being an entrepreneur, it's more than just the mindset of, I got to make this money, or I'm really good at hustling type of mentality. To me, being an entrepreneur, it's multi-layered. You know, you identify yourself and you identify uh, who you are in the process, but in doing so, as you evolve, your overflow is supposed to positively affect others as well. So this mindset, it's a part of an overflow. You know, when you see the consistent posts, that just comes from overflow, because where my intentions are, where you place your mind at, you'd be surprised what you can produce. You know, and that's on levels of our kids and just even on our day-to-day actions within our businesses. So that's my spiel. Does anybody have any questions or would like to add anything? Give me a one in the chat if this was helpful today. We would love to hear your feedback. But yeah, I think that this was a really good talk. It was a really good talk. Um, you know, it's one thing to be in a space with entrepreneurs, and it's another thing to actually communicate with each other about our journeys. So it's good to know you're not in a room by yourself. You know, is that's really the purpose of the mindset. It's like, you know, no, y'all not going crazy. This is all a part of the ebbs and the flows of entrepreneurship, you know, and this is part of our journey too. So if you guys don't have anything else for me, Kim, are you good to wrap up?
I'm good.
All right.
I
So
got to get back to working for the man.
oh, well, yeah, we got to handle our business. So I thank you guys for taking the time and spending the afternoon with us. This has been great and enlightening, and I am excited to see where these mindsets go. So you guys have a great rest of your day and end the week strong. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.